So hi everybody, we are in Ocala National Forest at Salt Springs. This is not what the video is about. The video is about the installation that I installed on the underbelly and all of the storage compartments in our fifth wheel. Now I did that work up in North Carolina probably about a month ago, and we put a good 1,500 miles on the rig since then, and it is a big difference. Now I can't tell you the R value of how it changed, but the way it feels, I'd say 15 to 20 degrees.
Yeah, it's nice.
I did it in a threefold manner. I did foam sealant, I did radiant barrier, and I did R13 insulation. Now on the sealant, it's pretty cut and dry. I sealed up all the holes and gaps at the end of the job I did. Now when it comes to the radiant barrier, I dropped my underbelly and I used 3M glue to secure it to the underbelly. Then I put the R13 on top of that. Done a little research. The R13 is actually almost fireproof. It is very fire resistant, and it's recommended that you put it on the bottom in the warmer climates, on the top in the colder climates. And when it comes to the R13, ours I used as backing. The reason I did that because it also is kind of a moisture barrier, helps prevent mold. So it goes, for us, it's gonna be the Under Armour belly, the radiant barrier, then the fiberglass backing, the R13. What I can say is that between that and what Laura did on the inside, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, and all the compartments that I put the radiant barrier in, or the reflective, there is a noticeable difference. I mean, it stays cooler, it stays warmer. Now, a couple things you need to realize though, on the radiant barrier, it needs about a 1-inch gap, and that's kind of hard to do in some areas. So what we did is we just kind of made sure that it was put in loosely fit, because we don't want any mold or anything, and we've been keeping an eye on it, and I haven't seen any moisture buildup or anything. It just seems to work very well.
We also keep a couple of small
dehumidifiers
in there, so that helps.
So I don't know if you're like me, but when I was trying to figure out how to insulate the rig, I looked at a gazillion different YouTube channels. Nobody really went into it that well, so I done some research about the fire resistance, what order it should be installed, and I just did the video of how to. Hope you enjoy it. Like and subscribe. Okay, I'm here at my brother's house and I'm doing some installation. I'm dropping the Armor belly pan up underneath the rig, and I'm dropping it down halfway and applying the reflective barrier for insulation. I've already got the back panel, and now I'm working the forward panel. I'm finding that it's easier to actually drop half the panel, lay it in. I'm using a 3M adhesive spray to actually glue it down. Works really well. You have to work really fast to do that though. And I'll put at the beginning or somewhere in the middle what the R value was on this insulation, but it's 5/16 thick. It does take a while to do it, and we've done inside all of our cabinets, which you'll see later on in the video. And I've also done inside in the roof area of my storage bay. And just to give you an idea, for storage, the door area and inside, and I don't know about the R value because we haven't really had a chance to take a difference in the readings of the temperatures, but I can tell you that the sound insulation is phenomenal. I used to be able to stand outside of my rig and hear the TV. I cannot even hear the TV anymore. Okay, one of the worst things about living RV life is having places to do maintenance. I'm at my brother's house, which is an awesome place in White Oak, North Carolina. I'll do a little video on what he does for a living and what I grew up doing. But for right now, we're talking about insulating your rig. I'm putting in R13 insulation. Now this particular insulation is actually fireproof, environmentally safe, not the cheapest stuff on the market. I think I paid like $35–40 per roll, 40 feet long, 10 inches wide. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting it to length in sections, and as you can see, I've already put the reflective on my bottom tank, armor tank. I came in and I cut my waterproofing at the stud lines, and you can see this is what the factory does. There's a piece hanging that I've already installed. They actually stopped with some of the cheapest insulation there is. So my whole back of my rig, where my back sofa's at, and doesn't have any insulation in it, and all I'm doing is cutting it and putting it in place. Like I said, it's fireproof. I'm gonna put some underneath my water tanks. I've already done all the reflective, and I'm gonna put in every cavity that I can find this insulation. Is it gonna be completely airtight? No, but you know what, it's going to be a lot better than what it was, and what I've already done with the reflective has substantially brought down the temperature. I also went in, I put reflective on my slide outs, and this tape I'm using, I'll show you here in just a moment. Once it adheres, it bonds almost like a glue. And I also used a 3M glue to stick the reflective, and I've already made several trips with it and haven't had any problem with it coming loose. I even did it underneath the tires on one side, but I'm gonna leave that for a couple months just to see how it comes out. I'm just using some basic 3M multi-purpose adhesive, whatever was on sale, to stick my reflective. And also I'm using this tape right here. Let me grab hold of it real quick. I'm using this joint and flashing tape. Again, this is really expensive tape. It is adhesive on one side, but once it adheres, you literally don't have to actually worry about it coming loose. That stuff is phenomenal. It has waterproofing. Basically living room, kitchen, and the aft sofa. The way I'm doing it is I'm adding some screws, and then I'm gonna run some of that tape that I was talking about earlier along the bottom, which is phenomenal. And then I'm gonna go back and replace all of the foam insulation. So I'm doing all this by myself, so it's not exactly easy, but it can be done. And I'm hoping this is gonna take care of that cold floor issue that we have. I picked up a box of hex washer self-drilling sheet metal hardware, several different sizes and styles, and I'm putting wide area washers on them. Pretty much the same thing that the factory used. So you'll see here in a moment, basically self-tapping screw, and in some areas I'm just putting some small wide area washers. And of course you're going to need some drill bits of different sizes when you're drilling in your extra holes, because what the factory put in really isn't enough. I'm going to put the factory in right now, then I'll come back and drill some extra supporting screws and hardware. As you can see, this is the original factory hardware. It does just fine. And what I bought was pretty much identical. I went with a little bit smaller size, mainly so I just wouldn't have to tap as big a hole into the cross beams. I did have to remove my propane line, and that was one of the supporting holes that were in the cross members, so I'll be able to locate the cross members from the original holes. If you don't have that, you could mark it, or you could just tap it out. Just be sure, depending on how your body armor was put in, mine was up underneath the lip of the frame, some are on the outside of the frame with a band on it. I may actually go back and put some of that in, just for added support, because there is a little extra weight added to it when you put all this insulation in. I'm figuring about a total of maybe 50 pounds. Now I'm just adding some gap filler to fill in the voids. And this is just a regular old tough, I believe it's called big gap filler. Great stuff. It also helps seals the body armor to the side of the trailer frame, so it's fairly sticky. Used about 2 cans the first time I did it. I try to get up under here and inspect once a year. Very sticky, and if you do get anything on something, see it pulling back there, just let it dry and it'll flake off. I'll come back later and I'll trim everything with a razor blade and I'll paint it black. And a lot of the reason the belly now looks like it's drooping, it's not. It's the insulation I put in. The belly is right back in the same position it was from the factory. Just I have added 3.5 inches of insulation, and like I said, I've secured it with more fasteners just like the factory, so it's going to be fine. And now to move on to the front. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with doing the installation in the front part of the rig, but I did want to give you an extra tip here. Take your air conditioners and put some air conditioning tape across all the corners and the seals so that you don't get any of that cold air that you're paying for to escape. And also, as you can see here, I put some of that reflective on the back side of the box. And here in a moment, you'll see it's also in the cover. It really helps with the AC staying cool.